Good day, students. I hope you are well. Today we're going to do a time value of money questions. They're normally short questions. Before we start, I just want to recap, right? Time value of money is basically how much is money worth after a certain period, right? Now, you always have, let's say, for example, 3 years. You have year 1, year 2, and year 3. Year 0 is always today. Now, this value of today is called a present value. And the value after a period, after a number of years, this is normally called a future value. Now, the years that you have, it's referred to as N. This is actually your number of years. Sometimes it's not only years, it can also be months, it can also be weeks. And then you get I, which represents a percentage interest, right? So let's say, for example, you need to decide your friend, or let's say you've got, if you go to the bank will give you 10% interest, right? Now, you have got to make a decision. You have 100 Rand. So your friend comes and your friend says, borrow me the 100 Rand let's say this is your friend. You borrow him the 100 Rand. He says, in year 1, he'll give you back 110 Rand, and in year 2, he'll give you back 109 Rand, and in year 2, he'll give you back 120 Rand. Right, so now you must decide, this 100 Rand that you have, will you rather borrow it to your friend, or will you put it in the bank that will give you 10% interest? Now let's see, now remember, this is present value, this is now. So if you take it to the bank, right, let's say you're going to take it to the bank, right, this is the bank, they're going to give you 10% interest. So this is the 100 Rand, you place it in. After the first year, how much will the bank give you? So then you'll have to say 100 Rand multiplied by 10%, right, is equal to 10. So the bank will give you 110 Rand back. Your friend would have only given you 109 Rand back. Okay, and then plus another 100, and or we can say plus the 10%, let's say multiply by 10%, this will give you 11. So then you'll have to say your 110 plus 11 Rand gives you 121 Rand. So if you need to make a decision, right, taking time value of money into account, it will be best if you rather put your 100 Rand in the bank than you paying your friend, or you giving your friend the 100 Rand, and then your friend will basically just pay you back. Now, before we continue, right, time value of money, normal circumstances, you can be asked either to calculate a present value, or to calculate a future value, or to calculate what's the number of years, or to calculate what is the interest. You can also be asked to calculate what is the payment. Payment means those payments can either be annual. Now, the number of years or the interest will normally drive the payment. So if they say interest is per annum, you know your payment must be once a year. Interest is biannually, you know your payments must be twice a year, and so forth and so forth. But what we're doing in this study unit, or in this module, we only concentrating on present value and future value. So we're only going to ask you questions on how to calculate present value or how to calculate future value. Now, what you also find is called an annuity. Now, an annuity is when you have the same amount over and over, or you can have different amounts over a certain number of periods. So if you have 100 Rand every single year, right? You deposit 100 and 100 and 100 and 100, automatically we'll know that it's an annuity, an equal annuity. But if you deposit, let's say for 5 years, first year 100, second year 150, third year 200, the year thereafter 250, and so forth, it is also called an annuity, but an unequal annuity, right? So what is it that you need to know in calculating or doing time value of money? You need to know the formulas, right? And the formulas is for present value. Now remember, if I say for present value, this is what we want you to calculate. So we want you to calculate present value. So if we want you to calculate present value, we will not give you a present value. We will give you a future value, right? If we want you to calculate future value, we will not give you a future value. We will give you a present value, right? So our present value, our formula, guys, and know this formula, is PV, which means present value, because this is what I want to calculate, is equal to future value. This is what we will give you, open bracket, right? 1 divided by 1 plus I, which is your interest, close the bracket, N, which is your number of years, okay? Or you can close this bracket, put the N there, and it will still work out. For future value, we will give you the present value. So our formula for future value, remember this is what we want to calculate, is equal to present value, open bracket, 1 plus I, which is interest, N. Okay, sorry, let me just take off my jacket. Okay, so let's start with the question. Okay. So guys, let's say you get a question like this. What I would do, I would on my question already write my formulas so that I know them, right? So if they want to give me, if they want me to calculate future value, they will give me a present value. So I'm going to say future value is equal to present value 1 plus I, close bracket, N. If they want me to calculate present value, they will give me a future value. So I will say they want me to calculate present value, future value, open bracket, 1 plus I, close bracket, N. There we are, right? So this is what I'm going to do. Now remember, we won't always tell you calculate the future value or calculate the present value. You need to be able to find what they are asking for in the question. Like we will use past tense. Past tense means it's past already. Or we will use future tense so that you need to know, this is still going to happen. Let me show you what I mean. It says first question, how much will you get? Right? Will you get if you invest 600 for 4 years at 10%? So first things first, 600, 4 years, 10% interest. So I know years is my N, interest is my I, and remember you must convert this interest. But what are they asking me? Are they asking me for present value or they're asking me for future value? Now they're saying how much will you get? That means this is in future. So they want the future value. So if they want the future value, they will always give you the present value. Okay, let's try the other one. We're going to run through all of them. Just do it like this. Indicate what it is that they want, what it is that we need to calculate, and then we'll do the calculation. The second one says, what is the amount of we know it's 300 investment, 15% interest, 3 years time. So we already know 15 is I, 3 years is N, but the 300, what are they giving me? They're saying, what is the investment of 300? What is the amount of a 300 investment at 15% in 3 years' time? That's also future, right? So they're saying they want to know what is it going to be. So automatically we know that is our present value that they're giving us. The third one says, you deposit 400 every year. So that means you are going to deposit 400, 400, 400, 400 at the beginning of the year. Now this is important, at the beginning of the year. Because you get two types of annuity. You will see that on the slides. You get annuity due and you get an ordinary annuity. Now, the annuity due, basically, okay, let's see. Here is your years. The one annuity, remember this is year 0, 1, 2, 3. The one annuity means that you are going to deposit the money here, right, at the beginning of the period, but interest is always at the end of the period, right? So for how many periods will you still get interest? For 1, 2 periods, right? The other annuity basically means, yeah, 0, 1, 2, 3, means that you are depositing the money here, but you also getting your interest at the end of the year. So here, interest is always at the end of the year, but this is just the difference. The one is deposited at the beginning of the year and the other one is deposited at the end of the year. So this 400, we know it's annually, so we know it's an annuity. Okay, it's 3 years and 20%, right? So now they're saying in 3 years, I is interest. Now we have our 400, but remember our 400 is deposited at the beginning. No, sorry. We number 3. 400 beginning 3 years, 30%. Okay, so 30% is I. 3 years is in 400, but it says at the beginning of the year. So if it's at the beginning of the year, you ask yourself the question, for how many months will I still get interest, right? Now, if it's at the beginning of the year, remember interest is only at the end of the year, right? So you'll get interest for 1, 2 years, right? So meaning, when you are here, you will still get for 2 years. When you get to the second year, you will still get for 1 year, but when you get to the third year, you're going to get no interest. Okay. So then we have the other one. It's the same question, but it's just deposited at the end of the year. Same story. 3 years, 20% is I. And now you ask yourself the question, right? How do we calculate that one? Now, this one, the difference is you don't ask the question, how long or for how many years will I get the interest? What you're going to do with this one, you're going to compound it, you're going to add it. So let's say, for example, you deposit 100 Rand, right? And here you get, after you get 110 Rand. Right? With the interest, you now have a total of 110 Rand. Your second year, you're going to say 100 Rand plus 110 Rand. This amount you're going to times by your percentage. So let's say together you now have 220 Rand. Right? At the end of the year, you're going to say 100 Rand plus 220 Rand. Then only you're going to add the interest, and that's how you do it. So when it's at the end, you basically add it. When it's at the beginning, you basically ask yourself, for how long will I still get interest? Okay. Then number 5 says you deposit 300, 450, 500 per year. You already know that's annuity, right? At the end, it says per year at interest rate of 20%. So we know 300 is year 1, 250, year 2, 500, year 3. So we know our N is 3 and at an interest rate of 20%, right? But what are they asking? You deposit so much per year. What is it that you want? They're saying you deposited year 1, year 2, year 3. Automatically, you want to know what is the future value. Okay. So these 300, 450, and 500, they are actually present values. Let's put them there. Present value, present value, present value. Okay, our number 4 is actually also, you want to know at the end. So this is a present value. This you also want to know at the end. So this is also a present value. Then we go to question number 6 says, you invested 700 for 5 years at an interest 25% interest rate, right? You invested, right? So what does that mean? You've already invested it. The only thing you can want to know is how much will you get in future. So this is N, this is I. So if you want future value, they must give you the present value. Then we have question number, you invested 700 for 5 years at an interest rate. Okay, you invested it at 5 years at an interest rate of 25%, right? So they said that you invested it at 700. Okay, so then we have question number 7. Question number 7 says you received 10,000. You received it already, right? 10,000. How much did you? Did you wants to know what happened previously. So this is what you received. The question wants to know how much did you invest 3 years ago. Ago is past tense, so automatically we know that this is a future value that they're giving us. They want to know what is the present value. Okay, you have the following future values, okay, that they tell you. If they tell you have future values, the only thing you can calculate is your present value. Okay, 10%. Okay, these are our future values. I'm just going to write that. And we know it is for 3 years because it N is equal to 3. Okay, and basically, once you have all that, the only thing you need to do, go and identify which formula I need to use, and then you use your formula to calculate. Okay, so let's start. We've got everything on our question paper. Now we're just going to start to do the question. Okay. So it says, how much will you get if you invest 600, 4 years, 10% interest? I already know they've given me the present value, so the only thing I can calculate is a future value. So I'm going to say, number 1, I want the future value is equal to, PV, open bracket, 1 plus I is an N, right? So now, what is what I? I is equal to 10%. Now remember, you cannot work with the percentage. In the sum, you need to convert it. If you want to convert a percentage, you always divide it by 100. So you're going to say 10 divided by 100. So your percentage now in a number form is 0.1. So our I is 0.1 and our N is equal to 4 years. Now we're just going to apply it into our formula. So we're going to say PV, which is, how much is our PV? 600, right? So it's equal to 600, open bracket, 1 plus 0.1 to the power 4. Okay, so now you're going to punch that into your calculator and then you'll get the answer. Okay, how do we do that? I'm going to say 600, open bracket, 1 plus 0.0, close bracket, to the power 4. So my answer is 878.46. Remember, the question will ask you to round off. If the question says to the nearest 100, you will say 880. If the question says to the last decimals, you will have to round off the amount after the comma. So ours will be, let's say we're going to round off, so our answer will be 878.50. Okay, that is our first answer. Then we go to the second one. The second one says, so we're done with question number 1. Question number 2 says, what amount of present value if you invest it, right? So meaning if they give you present value, they want future value. So we're going to use the same formula. Future value is equal to, PV 1 plus IN, right? What is our interest? We're going to convert it. So this will be 0.15 and our N is 3. Our PV is 300. So we're going to say it's equal to 300, open bracket 1 plus 0.15, N is 3. And then you basically go and just put it into your calculator again. 300, open bracket 1 plus 0.1, oopsie, 300, can you see, 300, open bracket 1 plus 0.15, close bracket, to the power 3. So my answer is 45626. So we're going to round off and it will be 45630. 456.30. Okay, we're done with question 2. Now we're going to go to question, and this is just what you do every time. Now that you know that they gave us a present value, they gave us, we know it's an annuity, we know that it's in the beginning. So when it's in the beginning, we ask ourselves, how much is left? How much interest will I still get? So you need to get your formula, and your formula is future value is equal to present value, open bracket 1 plus I to power N. You're going to apply this every year. Remember, there is 3 years. So we're going to say year 1 is equal to, what is our present value? They said it's 400, and then we open the bracket, and it's 1 point. Our interest is 30%, so it's 0 plus 0.30, and remember, how long are we still going to get interest? Only for 2 years, right? And then you have your answer. Then we're going to say year 2, we do exactly the same story. 0.3. How long are we still going to get interest? Only for 1 year. And then you do year 3, same story, 400. How long are we going to get interest? We're going to get no interest, right? So it's actually plus 0.0 is equal to. Let me show you why I'm saying so. Remember, I explained to you. So here, it's at the beginning, so our interest is here. So when we get our interest, when we stand here, for how many years are we still going to get interest? 1, 2 years. When we get to year 2, for how many years are we still going to get interest? Only for 1 year. When we get to year 3, for how many years are we still going to get interest? No, we're not going to get any interest in the 3rd year. And that is how it is calculated. So all you do now is you go and punch in the amounts. 0.30 power 2 is equal to 676. Delete is equal to 520. And then I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to get no interest. This is 400, and then I added up, oopsie, to get my total, which is 676 plus 520 plus 400, so it's 159600. So what was the question? You deposited 400 every year at the beginning of the 3 years of interest. So this is basically what you will get at the end. Okay. So let's go. So now we can go a bit faster. Question 4 is exactly like question 3. The only thing is the difference is the one is at the end and the one is at the beginning. Okay, so now remember what I said, when it is at the end. When it is at the end, you accumulate it, right? So we're going to do exactly the same. We're just going to accumulate it. So we're going to say future value is equal to present value. Always write your formula so that your formula can lead you. So year 1, we're going to say 400. 1 plus interest is 20%. Now we're not going to write how many interest must you still get, because you're going to accumulate it, right? So you're going to say 400 open 1 plus 0.20 gives me 480. So I'm going to write my 480 here. My year 2, I'm going to say 400 plus 480. Open bracket 1.020 is equal to, right? I'm going to do exactly the same. The only thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add my 480. 400 plus 0.20 plus 400 is 880, so it's 880, open bracket 1 plus, sorry guys, 880, open bracket 1 plus 0.20 is equal to 1056. And then I say year 3 is equal to my 400, but I'm first going to take my 1056. Then I'm going to get the total, and then I'm going to add my interest. So I'm going to say 400 plus my 1056 gives me 1456. Open bracket 1 plus 0.02 gives me 174720, and then I add up my 3 years plus my 1056 plus my 480 gives me 328320. Now we can ask you, we give you the same 2. You must then tell us which annuity would you take. I will rather take the one at the end, because at the end of the day, I will get almost double of what I will get if I deposit my money at the beginning. Okay, so let's go to question 5. Okay, now we can basically just go much quicker. They gave us present values. We want future value, and they gave us over the 3 years. So what are we going to do? We're just going to ask ourselves the question, how will we calculate it? Now, you need to remember, there is a difference between this annuity and that annuity. This annuity stated at the beginning. This annuity stated at the end. If the question says nothing about beginning and end, you're basically just going to do it like normal, right? So if you're going to calculate this, you're going to say, okay, the first year, I'm doing it over 3 years. The second year, I'm doing it over 2 years. And the third year, I'm doing it over 1 year. What I mean by that, okay, so we're going to have, we know its future value is equal to present value. Open bracket IN. So I'm going to say year 1, I'm going to take, I said I'm going to deposit 300, but for how many years? Basically for 3 years, right? So it's 1 plus what's my interest? Interest rate is 20%, 0.203. My year 2, I'm going to take, because remember my total is 3 years. My total is 3 years. So this is year 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm going to deposit 300. Yeah, I'm going to deposit 450. And here I'm going to deposit 500, right? So if I deposit the 300, it will be for 1 to 3 years. If I deposit the 450, because remember my total is 3 years, I'm going to deposit it for 1 2 year. And if I deposit the 500, it will only be for 1 year. When do I apply this? When the question says nothing about you deposited it at the beginning or you deposited it at the end. You just do it like normal. So here you're just going to say 450, 1 plus 0, 20 for 2 years. Year 3, you're going to say 500, 1 plus 0.2 for 1 year, and you will basically fill in your answers. Okay, let's do that quickly. Calculate it with me. 300, open bracket, 1 plus 0.2 power 3 is equal to 51840. Okay, let's calculate it. The second one works out to 648, and the third one works out to 600. So you add 3, 600 plus 648 plus 51840 gives me 176640. Okay, then we have question number 6. Question number 6 says you invested, you did this already, 700 for 5 years. So we're going to say we invested it already. PV 1 plus I, N is equal to 700 5 years for 25% plus 0.25 for 5 years. And then we're going to say 700, open bracket, 1 plus 0.25 to the power 5. So the amount is 2136.23. Now, what I'm trying to show you is that you do exactly the same thing over and over again. You just need to know your formulas. Okay, so we only have 2 questions left. And this is about how difficult the question can get. What we normally do is we will add a scenario. We will add names, just to put some interest in the question. Now we have question number 7. Question number 7 says you received 10,000. How much did you invest? So they want to know, this is what you got, but how much did you initially invest, right? So this is 0.20, 3 10%. Okay, so now we want present value. Now what's our formula for present value? Future value, open bracket, 1 plus I in close bracket, right? So we're going to say, what is our future value? Our future value, they said we received 10,000. 1 divided by 1 plus, what is our I? 20%, 0.20, and our interest rate was, or our years was 3, right? So to make it easy, this is what you will put into your calculator. You will say 10,000, open bracket, right? And then you will say 1 divide, and then you will put in another bracket, 1 plus 0.20, and then you will close that bracket, and then you will say to the power. Now remember, this is 10,000. It's just for 3 years, right? So you will then have to, you can either calculate it per year, right? If they want it per year, or you can just calculate it as one, depending on what the question is asking. So 3 and close bracket. So if the question is only asking you to calculate what's the present value, if the question says if you need to calculate it per year, you will have to do this in 3 years, and in year 1 you'll have 1 for N, year 2 you'll have 2, and year 3 you'll have 3. Right, but if they just want the total present value, this is how you will do that. So you're going to say 10,000, open bracket, 1 divided by close bracket, 1 plus 0.20, close bracket, to the power 3, close bracket, and your answer will be 5787.03. If they had to ask you what is the present value per year, you would have done it like this. You would have had year 1, year 2, and year 3, and then you would have said 10,000, 1 divided by 1 plus 0.20, and then for year 1, you would have had 1. Your first year, how much did you get? And then you would have had the same thing again, and then say 1 divided by open bracket 1 plus 0.25, and then for year 2, how much did you get? And then for year 3, you would have done it like this. But if they don't say per year, you can just work it out holistically as 120, and then you'll say year 3. Okay, now we've got our last question, which is question 8. Question 8 says you have the following future values: 1,000 to 2.5, 3,000 per year at an interest rate of 10%, which is 0.10. What was the total present value? Okay, now because they split it into years, you must also split it. So the first thing we do, we're going to say present value is equal to future value, and then we're going to say open bracket 1 plus I, close bracket, n to the power. So I'm going to say year 1 is equal to, they gave me the amount, they said it's 1,000. So I'm going to open bracket 1 plus my interest rate, they said it's 10%. And then for my year 1, I want to know how much did I get in the first year. Okay, so I'm going to say equal to, then year 2, do exactly the same, but the amount is different, 2,500 divided by 1 plus 0.10, but this is for 2 years. And then year 3, the amount is different, it's 3,000, 1 divided by 1 plus 0.10, but for 3, and that's the answer, and then I must just get my answer. Okay, so let's calculate this. So I'm going to say 1,000, open bracket 1, divided by close bracket 1.10, close bracket to the power 1, close bracket, and my first answer is 909. And then remember, if we round off, we'll round it off to the nearest 10. Second one is 2,500, open bracket 1 divided by, open another bracket, 1.01 to the power 2, and my second answer is 2066.12. Okay, then the last one is 3,000, open bracket 1 divided by open bracket 1.10 to the power 3. 3,000, open bracket 1 divided by, okay, gives us 225, okay, let's say 4. Okay, and then we just added 909, 10 plus 20. Oopsie, sorry guys, you can't see what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to add this 6612 plus 225400 gives me 522922. And that is how you do time value of money. And this is by the basic questions that we normally ask in a test, because these questions I actually took from different tests to set up a question bank for us to be able to do it. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Bye.